America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. I talk to you every Thursday afternoon. I'm going to start doing more interviews because the people want to see me talk to other people. And so I usually do a show on Thursday afternoons. And today I'm going to have a special guest, Yvette, coming in, I suspect, momentarily. And we're going to talk a little bit about ADOS and what ADOS means and while she is finding her way here, I want to say that one virtue of the movement she has birthed, pretty much, I was there when she did it. Her and Antonio Moore, is that it actually focuses on lineage. And focusing on lineage is very important because it's not about melanin. Being black in the United States is not about melanin, and being white in the United States is not about about having a lack of melanin. What it's about is having access to resources and opportunities that were indexed to melanin. But pretty much what that means is, since none of us, nobody who's watching this and nobody at home who's going to watch this is emancipated from the social situation of their grandparents, pretty much, and there's data that supports this, you end up socially where your grandparents were. What does that mean, that you end up socially where your grandparents was? You have to understand that up until so Kath Nelson's book says the 40s, but up until the 50s, I want to say 75% of the black workforce in the South were sharecroppers and domestic workers, right? So that's not too long ago. That means that's the status we're looking at, going back, and 60% nationwide. There's some industrialists but for the most part, if without a big intervention, you end up being your grandparents. And you have to look at where our grandparents were, not just materially. Look at our grandparents were socially, with respect to other powers in America. And that's where we end up, unless we launch an intervention. And one thing I appreciate about Yvette's work is Yvette's down to say, we need an intervention. We need an intervention. And that intervention is going to look like reparations, and that reparations will make American black people whole. Because in the absence of that, we will end up in the same degraded position. And, as I get older, I just see things repeat and repeat and repeat and get reproduced in a way that's just not great for the future of black communities and the future of America, right? So, because I'm a good American. I want to see I want to see the nation do well by all the people it needs to do well by, right? So there's going to be a few different strategic issues we're going to talk about, and where Yvette and I disagree most, I think it's probably going to be the most interesting. I think you don't get a better America without going after the whites. And then Yvette thinks that you can organize in a way that I'm not sure is possible. You can organize black people, and I think in a kind of vacuum. But the problem is, when you try to organize black people, you don't have to go too far before you find someone who's scared to be out loud because they are terrified of losing their white check, right? They're terrified of losing their white job, right? So I don't think you can organize black people without, in an unreconstituted America, without actually going after the whites. But Yvette, over the last few years, has done a great job, a fantastic job organizing black people, autonomously. I just think that there's a hard line to it, and I don't know. Because look, when reparations come, and it should, if America's going to be made whole, when reparations come, what it's going to look like, it's going to completely destroy what white people think of as their family, what white people think of as their church, because their identity as white in the South is ruling or having access to black people. So over black people. So I don't know if you can have a black movement that's not going directly at the whites, because I think the whites are the problem. And it's going to be an issue of, they're going to have to rethink of what they think of the entitlements with respect to property, their family, with respect to their church. All of that's going to be transformed in a way that that's the fight. I'm not saying that black people are going to end up rolling up to Columbia, South Carolina, and Birmingham and Atlanta in tanks like Putin's doing to Kyiv. But when reparations comes and black people are being made whole, a lot of whites are going to fight back. So we need to be prepared to roll up into Kyiv. We need to be prepared to roll up into, Columbia and Birmingham with the tanks, if that's what it means. Because when we take the land that's ours and that we're owed, they're going to fight back. So we need to prepare ourselves for that fight back, and we need to prepare them for the fight back. And that's just kind of what's on my mind right now. And everybody, this is Yvette Carnell.
Hey, how you doing, Army?
I'm doing well. Just
I ain't rolling up the key. I'm just letting you know.
You're not rolling. Hey, look, I saw today they are offering jobs $1,000 to $3,000 a day to do search and extraction in Ukraine.
Searching for what?
White people they want to take out.
Oh no! I remember when they were doing that with Iraq, and a lot of the people that did that got left. Like they were like, "Well, I'm going to make six figures in Iraq, and it's just not going to be hard." They got left there. They were like, "I can't get home." Well, catch a flight. Oh, no more flights. Oh well, America does not care. So good luck to you, though.
Good luck for that $1,000 a day. You can go and or $1,000 to $3,000 a day. You can go and do search and extraction in a war zone.
I don't think people understand what that means.
People don't understand what war. Yeah.
See, I mean, you better than me. You want to you ready for action or whatever. If this doesn't come through a political process, we're in a lot of trouble. And I'm not saying that you don't protect yourself. Self-defense is self-defense. But if the white peoples goes too white, we're in quite a kerfuffle. That's what it is.
Well, you have to understand, I don't think that there is a reparations plan that keeps white people in the level of comfort to which they become accustomed.
I agree. This whole thing about you can maintain your status. I don't think you can, because your status is unwarranted and unmerited. So What has happened is that you've gotten something that you don't deserve. And we've gotten less than we deserve. And so reparations kinds of rights that wrong. But in any true meritocracy, whiteness is over with, right? It's not a thing of value anymore. It doesn't have any value. And if it doesn't have any value, some of y'all just fall like bricks or you just fall below your station.
Well, we were holding you up the whole time.
Yeah, we were just now we ain't down here no more. We get to kind of come up here. And so, yeah. And I do believe there's going to be a lot of angst and a lot of violence. But we saw violence during Obama. I mean, so I do believe it's once we get our reparations, it's time to hunker down. I'm not marching because they be in the woods tracking animals and stuff. That doesn't mean I'm scared if it happens, but I'm not. I do believe that they're going to do what they've always done, and violence has always been kind of from lynchings to murders to executions. That's kind of been how they communicate, in terms of this system that we're in. And so I do see that, but I just think they want us to come outside. I think they want us to be like, yay, I'm gonna be like,
So, I mean, the story about the end of Reconstruction is that the Northern whites kind of lost their taste for violence, so they abandoned the South to the Klan. Pretty much, they abandoned us, and so a real reparations would be another Reconstruction, and that Reconstruction is going to incite a backlash. So people who think that whatever we do, we have to make sure that we don't incite a backlash, I just don't think they're serious about the struggle.
No, they're not. Because listen, a lot of white people already think we got reparations. They think Obama gave us Obama phones and a bunch of money. And we see that reaction. The one thing that I say all the time is that we didn't get anything for this black president. We got negative, but we suffered the consequences. So I do think there is going to be a backlash. And I do think there's always a backlash. One of the other things I would say, though, because I don't consider it a if as much as a when, the North can't abandon us. That had to be part of the paperwork. Like, you don't get to just be like, here's your money, Negroes. Well, we through. You did that the last Reconstruction. This Reconstruction has to be different. And the only way we can manage that is if we start to learn from our mistakes in terms of our political mistakes, Obama, all of that. We have to learn from our political mistakes and say, listen, we're not going to let these folks get off. Hey, if you all don't want to support us, you'll never get another Democratic president in this lifetime. You just might as well just look at pictures. You'll never get another one. But we tend to not have that kind of accountability. So I don't even think it necessarily needs to get that far. If we have never experimented with political accountability.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we gave up, right? So we gave up experimenting with political accountability as soon as we decided that we're all Democrats now.
No matter what.
No matter what. I mean, Obama, I went back through some of his first speeches in 2008, 2009. He pretty much told white people that, like, we're not getting reparations. And if you get resentful about it, about these uppity Negroes asking for reparations, you're right for it. And we just need to kind of just, I don't know, not hate each other as much.
Obama's one of our most racist presidents. I mean, he neutralized our politics in a way that I don't think a white president ever could have. And he is one of our biggest mistakes. I was debating before I logged on here whether or not Obama is in the top 5 worst presidents. Like, for us, not just for America, but for us specifically. Like, we got Andrew Johnson, right? After Reconstruction, he said, I want some liquor, so screw the Negroes. Then we have, we gotta throw Clinton in there, 1994 crime. We gotta throw Reagan in there, right? All those crime bills that came with him. I was just thinking, like, he might be in the top 5 in terms of really trashing our politics. And this just the racism of don't want to, Michelle Obama too, don't want to be a rap star, and like all this. He might be. There's a debate, like people debate top 5. I wish people debated, like they debated top 5 rappers would debate top 5 worst presidents for Black people.
He spent a lot of time blaming poor people and Black people. Yeah. He spent a lot of time and convincing other people, other Black people and other white people to do the same. Like, he spent a lot of time low key convincing or blaming Black people. And so, like I always say, if you can't get the right legislation passed, if you can't get policy passed for your people, the best thing you can do is clarify the fight. Best, like, you can clarify the fight. So Obama succeeded in not only not getting the policies we need for the people, but I think people came out in 2016 more confused than they were in 2008 about what we need.
I think it's worse than that. I think they came out believing that, like, this stuff is mostly solved. Like, this stuff we've been fighting for, this whole freedom struggle, civil rights. We got a Black president who isn't even in favor of the stuff I thought I was in favor of. I thought I was in favor of the stuff. The first Black president said no. So wait a minute. Maybe he's right. And maybe because he got there, he's right about the fact that we may not have arrived, but we're very close to it. And I just think he confused our politics in a way and bastardized our politics in a way that we're having a very hard time recovering from.
Yeah. So there are a few levels. Every time you see a Black person on television, it's got to be some sort of variety of Black people aren't poor. And that's confusing because even if you're Black and you're not poor, you're not that far removed from it. There are people who's
in a millisecond.
Yeah, and like each one of us, I'm talking about the 260 people who are watching this, and you and me, have people we can't take phone calls from because they're going to hit up us for money that we don't have.
Well, I see you on YouTube. What that mean? You sold some hoodies. What that mean? What you know with the markup? Not much. I mean, but you said something a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I've repeated it. You said something a long time ago. You said, something about how a check engine light can really ruin a Black person, ADOS person's life. Like that is a thing that can just really just like a check engine light. And I thought about that. I was out like a month ago, and I have a 2006 car because I'm as expensive as cars those. I'm holding tight, and I put it in drive to leave. I was out to dinner. I felt special. I done had an appetizer and a dinner. Okay, so I put the car. I'm rich. I put the car in drive, and it don't move. It just don't move. What I'm supposed to do? Then I put it in park. I cut it off and I prayed over it. Please, God, I need this car to start. I don't want to have to buy no whole new car. Please. And I cranked it up, put it in drive again, and it took off. All praise to the Most High. Listen, you're exactly right. Like, we don't understand that most people, they don't live like this. What they have to no, I check engine light, we get it checked out. If there's a problem, we get it fixed. They don't live like this. This is not the American way of life.
Yeah, and just that kind of precarity makes us vulnerable to political capture. It makes us vulnerable. It just doesn't make us free. That's just not free. That's not consistent with freedom. If you know at any point in time a check engine light could ruin your month, like, that's just not consistent with any sort of meaningful freedom, because you can't take any sort of hits, right? So I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
People say that, like, okay, so you can't really talk about reparations because we're so far away from it. What you need to talk about is healthcare, because we're so close to healthcare. And I tell these people, look, we're not any closer to healthcare than we were in 1992. We're not any closer to universal healthcare than we were in 1992. Are we closer to reparations? Maybe, but don't tell me that I have to be quiet about one just because you think that maybe we're closer to the other, because we're not. We're not. It's all like, we've been talking about universal healthcare nonstop for 8 years. We're not any closer to it. So let's start talking about reparations now and kind of work the body, is what I think. Do you think we're closer to healthcare than we are to reparations?
I haven't seen any evidence of it. No. And the thing is, healthcare has more powerful people working for it, right? It doesn't have just our little ragtag, we started from nothing ADOS movement. You got whole Democratic politicians saying, yes, healthcare is a right and everybody should have it. All of it don't move, though, don't it? But it don't go nowhere, do it? They talk all this stuff and like, well, we did the best we could. It don't move. So how can you convince me of something that a large swath of white people, of color people seem to be approving of, and they're not moving? That political thing is not moving, but this thing is just a dead, and it's clear and it's cut. How can you convince me that like one is moving? This is doable and this is not doable. Based on what metric? Exactly. Like, I need to see the metric. I don't see the metric to say what people say it means. I just have not seen it. I just think that maybe that's just what the Democratic Socialists of America think. I'm not trying to, but I just don't see any evidence of what y'all said. In my mind, I've had conservatives reach out to me and be like, just give me a number. I want a number. 11 trillion. Yeah, they don't give more than that for me. 20 trillion is down payment. You got to get the monies. But like, listen, in order for a conservative to say that, they're not asking like, well, how much does your health care cost? Just give me a number. They're saying, well, reparations, I understand, it was slaves, everything. Okay, that's a lot. Oh, what's the number, Yvette? Ain't nobody saying that about healthcare. They're saying like, buy your own, like Obamacare, whatever, figure it out. Nobody is giving you an ear. I just don't see I don't see what you're talking about. I don't see how one is so much bigger or better than the other one. I just haven't. I agree. And I don't think one's closer, because when these things happen, sometimes they happen quick. You do all the prep work and then boom, the right person gets in. And then, because the problem, they want to keep us quiet, right? Like, people don't know. This is what the CRT debate's about and all that. They want to keep Black people quiet, talking the truth about how broke we are, why we are broke, and how it's all complicit in these United States, right? So if the arguments get out in a penetrating way, this thing could happen quick. That's the way it always happens with stuff like this. I remember reading something about revolutions and about why don't people leave before bad things happen. If you know those things are going to happen, shouldn't you have known that they were going to start doing awful things, genocide and stuff like that? And they said, sometimes this stuff happens quick. Most times it happens pretty quick. And I just think people don't understand that, it happens quick. Just like that. And that's the thing that's, to me, is happening more with reparations than anything else. I have heard since we started down this path, I mean, you were here when we started down this path of the racial wealth gap and the wealth gap and what's the solution, right? You and I were talking about that every week. What happened is all of a sudden that caught. Now you can't control what catches, but when it catches, it catches. And I would argue that we're closer to reparations than Medicare for all and all of the stuff people say that is a much better gamble than us. This is much more mainstream. No, it's not. Ain't nobody trying to. Child, it's not mainstream to pay for your health care. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm talking about what I feel in terms of America. You got a lot of racist people who are like, yeah, well, we do owe the Negro something. We don't owe none of the rest of y'all. Heck, we talked about before. Ann Coulter will admit that, yeah, we owe the Negroes, nobody else. And she ain't a friend of the liberals or nobody. If you can get conservatives to say, yeah, we owe y'all. All we need is, we really need more liberals, right? But we're further ahead than y'all are. Just saying what it is.
That is true. You'll find conservatives who say, yeah, I guess we owe them something. And that's already, nobody says, I guess we owe everybody healthcare. Nobody who doesn't want to give everyone healthcare. They're not saying no. So there is a way in which the claim is more justified or easier to make. And I do really think it just takes the right person on the right microphone to make it. And that person wasn't Obama because he was making the other claim. And this could get, and what I also think it takes is the Democrats, either the progressives or the liberals, figuring out that you ain't getting nothing south of Mason-Dixie until you figure out a way to make Black people whole and convince Black people that you're serious about making them whole.
And what does that go back to? Political accountability.
Yeah.
And that's why people talk about, I won't get it popping in the streets. I don't believe you. I don't believe most people who say that. Because the thing is, if I have to go break out an AK-47 or something like that, and outside of my house in self-defense, we're already in quite a pickle. What I'm saying is that, like, you have to test political accountability, and we haven't. We have too many people who vote blue no matter who, and we have too many people that don't do anything at all. And so what I say is, even if you're not going to vote for the top of the ticket, or you got a congressperson that you don't want to vote for, you got Clyburn, I'm not voting for him, I get it. You still have to be engaged, right? Because you still have to be able to make arguments. And I just haven't seen, for my part, I haven't seen ADOS people being like, I'm going to hold these people accountable. There's a whole political world that we have never dealt with in any kind of seriousness, right? We have been totally unserious for the most part, like 90% of us, about what it means and how to hold politicians accountable. So, like, if you don't hold politicians accountable and you just show up when it's time to, like, vote, and you vote blue no matter who, and you don't know who's on the ballot and whatever, I'm just going to vote for the Democrat. Well, then you end up where we are now. I think we have to get serious about political accountability before we go anywhere. And that's why we said, hey, down ballot, don't vote for Trump, don't vote for Jim Crow Joe. Let them all eat cake. And everybody's like, oh, well, Yvette, we just got to get Trump out of there. You got to get Trump out of there. Okay, you got him out of there. And you got a whole bunch of more cops. You got a whole bunch of more money to the police. What does that look to you? You got a whole bunch of money about a bunch of talk in the State of the Union about Ukraine. Nothing is in there for you. He came out here and did a speech in Georgia, and that was it. Like, as long as you just go along with whatever happens, that's going to be it. I would like to see us hold politicians accountable at the ballot box. I just would.
And not just hold politics accountable at the ballot box, but just hold them accountable in all aspects of culture. Right?
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Yeah, like, I don't like this veneration of John Lewis. I think John Lewis took ownership of the civil rights movement, sold it to the Clintons, and then Clinton at his funeral said, thank you for selling us the civil rights movement. Said, thank you. Stokely was driving a harder bargain, but you came and sold it to us cheap. All you wanted was some commemorative plates. And so, like, there you go. And
Stokely also ran away. I have a problem with Stokely, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay. But all right.
You gotta stay here, because that pressure of being here will drive you to dust if so the pressure of being in America and advocating for Negroes in America, you got to stay with it.
You got to stay right here.
Right here.
Because I've gotten death threats. I assume you do.
Like, child. Child, where you going to be at?
I was trying to explain. I was explaining this to Crystal, actually, because, Crystal got some heat for having me on. Crystal Ball, every now and then I go on Breaking Points. It's a, lefty show. She got some heat for having me on. And I think she got a threat, and she was like kind of freaking out. And I was like, man, I get death threats every week.
Freaking out over death threat. You gotta be kidding me.
Why are you
Freaking out over a death threat. Oh my gosh. We get death threats all the time.
I would have quit this like the third week if like one death threat was like, ooh, I don't know.
I remember when I criticized Minister Louis Farrakhan, it was just a critique. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't doing nothing to him. It was just a criticism. I got more death threats than that minute I've gotten all my life. Everybody's gonna box me out somewhere. If I see you, I'm on. And, you know, death threats are just a part of it. And you know, it's kind of honestly, it's kind of like if it comes, it comes. But if I see you first, I will get you. But it's kind of just like this. That's just a part of the process. That's just what we do here, and it's awful and it's problematic. And I report all of them. Y'all gonna go to jail. But like it is what it is.
It's a part of it. It's a part of it. If you can't do this kind of work without, you know, threats, because you're doing it in public and showing other people to do it in public. But if more people do it, the more people who do it, they can't get us on.
No, you can't threaten everybody.
They can't. Yeah, they can't get us on. They're not going to get. They're not going to. You know, my wife made me get life insurance after the first few. But like,
you need it. You need like everybody needs it, but you need it.
You. So I got my life insurance. But mostly my policy is telling everyone, I'm talking to 380 people who are watching right now. If someone gets me, I'm very healthy. Black man in my 40s, very healthy. If someone gets me, I did not die by my own hand, and I do not forgive anyone. So burn it down.
Let me say this. I'm not telling anybody to burn them. That's irony. But let me say this. I had a physical yesterday. I haven't gotten the results back, but every time I get a physical, I'm good. I run all the time. I'm happy. I watch movies. I pop popcorn. So there is. Yvette took a bunch of people. No, she didn't. No. She's a happy person. She's jolly like Santa, you know. But so yeah, I'm with that. Don't believe any of that stuff. People make up all kind of stuff. Well, she was depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm fine. I'm happy. And you know, life is fine. I'm happy advocating for my people. So anybody who tells you anything different is a liar and a thief and maybe a murderer.
Yeah. So this lack of political accountability with the Democrats, it comes at every level. I still have people giving me excuses for Obama. It's like, well, he couldn't do anything with a Senate who hated him. Well, they didn't put a muzzle on him.
Did they? That's what they say they did.
They didn't put a muzzle on him. They're like, I didn't say, like, he could still speak. Like, he could still say, like, we owe black people. And especially after he won the second time, I mean, like, there's nobody keeping him from talking. It's not like he was getting a Supreme Court justice across. So
vote Merrick Garland. He's a justice. He's at the Justice DOJ now, but that's so well, whatever. I'm sorry. You could even get that's I think if you want to say one thing that just shows Obama, it's like he was not prepared for any kind of fight. It was the fact that you lost a Supreme Court justice. That is insane.
But he was, what did he say? He was like, well, I tried. And I guess
that's his whole life. That should be on his gravestone.
Well, and now he's rich, right? He got his Netflix deal and his $250,000 speeches.
Wasn't that always in game, no, for Obama?
We got to so when that's the end game, it's going to screw up everything prior to it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be in the back of your head. I don't want to work. I don't want to screw up the after work. So that is a form of corruption that we need to look in. Yeah. Because I do think that was definitely the end game for Michelle. That held that. Yeah. That dream
Michelle knew perfectly well she wasn't marrying a black man, you know, with a white mama, that she was marrying a white man, you know, with a black daddy. Like, she knew very well who she was marrying, and she was like, well, you know, she knew she was complicit.
Yeah, and the end game was always like Obama ending up white people rich. Like that was the end game. So rich, you don't have to deal with Negroes. You don't want to be around. And that is unfortunate for us, because I think it confused, like, he got paid to confuse Black America, and we got paid to confuse America about what it means to be Black. So yeah, but there are other people.
And what happens in terms of Blackness? I mean, I still think the idea, like, it's hard to put it this way. We don't deserve a president. Like
We're not ready.
America hasn't, and not just in terms of what we deserve. America hasn't done the work to put somebody who come from slavery in the White House. We don't deserve somebody who looks like us to kind of mimic us and do some Al Green. Oh, I so in love. Shut up. This is our stuff. We don't like America hasn't done the work for you to put an ADOS. And that's why the two people that we have there, Kamala and Obama, do not trace their lineage back to slavery, because America knows it has not done enough with us. So America has said, listen, we got some people that look like y'all, and y'all stupid enough to just go along and act like they are y'all. So that's what we're gonna be. And we're gonna use that to say that hey, we've had a black president, we've had a black vice president. These people who come from slavery are okay. And it's just a lie. And it's a lie again that we have been complicit in, instead of saying, like, really, Kamala, listen, you are the descendants, or you are the child of, not just of affluent immigrants. That's not the same as somebody who comes from slavery. And people are like, well, you saying she's not black. I don't care about blackness. That's stupid anyway. I am lighter than most Indian Americans and Pakistanis. What you talking about the color for? This is about a specific lineage. And how are you all going to tell me that this woman or this man has anything in common with me? Obama went to Punahou High School and he was elite and all this stuff. How are you going to tell me that he got a lot in common with me? And I thought that we had learned our lesson. I really did. I thought Obama we learned, but Kamala taught me something different. It's like the Negroes, and it wasn't the bottom for the most part. It was the bottom fifth of America, I think. It was all the other Negroes. Now they're stratospheres. Oh, well, she went to Howard. Yvette, just like you went to Howard. What are they talking about?
Yeah. So there's a big industry, and I want to say it might be one of the biggest industry in high profile Black America, of confusing Black people about what it means to be Black. And that's an industry that actually makes our job harder. First of all, I want to say two things. One, how come the NAACP has an image awards? Nobody else has image awards. The biggest thing, why are we image? It's cheap. Anybody can take a picture. I don't want image. I want like actual resources. I want land.
That's what it is. It's work avoidance. We got a whole industry of work avoidance Negroes in this country. Negroes who focus on everything except the political work. Well, they did real good in that movie. I just gonna give it to them. You know, there's a whole industry of people in this country, and in this so-called Black America, who that's all they do. All they do is just like they're diversion. You know, I love zombie movies. And one of the reasons I love zombie movies is it's so easy to distract the zombies. The zombies are people in my mind. So you just throw something over there, clack, clack, and the zombies, ooh. You just, yeah, hey, the zombies, ooh. That's kind of what it is. So let me just show you a shiny picture of somebody who did real good in a movie, and we appreciate them, but we don't need your image awards for us to appreciate them. Maybe even that was the case 30, 40 years ago, where we were having, you know how we got caught up in the first this, first that. But we kind of do a pretty good job on social media of appreciating, you know, people who represent us well. We don't need the NAACP to put on this whole expensive thing to do that.
It's their biggest thing. That shouldn't be their biggest thing. Image should not be their biggest thing. And
that's what propaganda is a hell of a drug. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't. Image shouldn't be the biggest thing. Like securing real power and resources to Black people should be their biggest thing. But and the picture of that isn't the same thing as actually like the bank account, right? Isn't the same thing as the land holdings.
Yeah.
Right. So one problem I have in the project of organizing Black people is that you don't have to go too far before you find Black people who are scared to jeopardize their relationships with white capital.
You ain't got to walk but 2 steps. And there they are.
I believe in you, but because like, you know, I got to keep my job and I don't want to. So, I mean, so that's why I feel comfortable saying that you got to go after the whites, because you can't really, this is the thing, we're not actually independent. We like to think that we're independent, but if we were independent, you know, Umar's school wouldn't have gone over. It would actually be a school. The Jews have a school, right? So like they have a college, the whole thing. So we're not actually independent from white capital.
No, I don't know why we think that. Like, if we had our capital, like if we had gotten 40 acres, had our own industries, you could say we still have to intertwine with white capital. But you could say, listen, we're doing really well. We have business with other countries or whatever. We're doing okay. We're still under the influence of laws and regulations that whatever. But you can't say that now. So this idea that we never even got real access to the banks, so that the banks could actually, be the banks are drivers of wealth. We never really got access to them. So this idea that, yeah, we're free and we can do what we want. We can just get it out the mud or whatever these little dumb rapper Negroes say. Like, what part of you doesn't understand how the world works? What part of you doesn't understand this kind of sophisticated oppression? Which part of you just doesn't get it? That's the only thing I ask, because we have a lot. Go look at the TV. I don't even, thank God the TV, my cable went out in the outlet that leads in my room. But so I can't see it at night. What I'm saying is that that's a blessing, because the Negroes who are on TV are just the worst. Like these, you want to talk about maintaining some kind of relationship to whiteness, and people of color, quote unquote, y'all do it too. Y'all are always assimilating into whiteness. Everybody's just like, well, we just gotta, we can't go too far. Well, we can't go too far. We can't have freedom. If you say I can't go too far, you just say I'm okay with not being free. That's just what it is. I didn't say that. That's just life. Nobody wants to go far, and you gotta go far to be free. And I don't know what you want for your kid. I guess you think your kid gonna escape or whatever the case may be, but it just doesn't work that way. You just have to do the work. I don't know.
Look, a lot of people in the American South, a lot of Black people across the United States were born and lived in public housing their whole life. If that's the case now, after this pandemic, your kid's never going to have that down payment.
Nope.
Not like if you were born in public housing, your kid, or maybe one of them will, but they all won't, because now housing's so expensive. You need generational wealth to get a down payment. You were in Decatur, right? So
hey.
She's in the Atlanta area.
I'm wherever. I'm in Georgia. Don't send people to come see me.
Well, I'm just thinking.
I have guns, so I'm just saying, just don't send people to come see me. Go on.
The house you grew up in, what would it take for you to be able to buy it just as a young Black woman? It would
take much more than I have today. Like, the thing is, that home now is valued, that I grew up in, is valued at around $400,000 now. And I can't afford that. So
right. And your parents could, and they were just regular working people, right?
They were, yeah. That's where I grew up. I'm just playing with Armin, but that is where I grew up. And everybody knows that I grew up. I'm just playing with Armin, messing with him. But I grew up in Decatur. That's where I went to school. So that's where my parents had a home, right? And so I couldn't, that's a $400,000, and that's a lowball estimate of that home. I've seen estimates of that home that go up to $600,000. So I'm lowballing it at $400,000, right? And I don't know what people understand when they talk about when they say well, you can do it like they do it. You got to understand, my parents were able to get that home as ADOS factory workers. Just put that there. ADOS factory workers, they were able to get that home. There's no way, I can't afford that home now as a person who graduated from college, because that's really a $600K home now. Gentrification, right? I just don't understand what people are thinking when they say, no, we can get it, whatever. Listen, Obama made your kids Uber drivers. I didn't do it. Obama made your kids Lyft drivers and gig workers. I didn't do it. They're never going to have the opportunity to be me or to be Army. They're never going to get that.
They're never going to. That's the thing. We need to be honest. Your kids are not going to get there. We're talking about $100,000. If you want 20%, not have to pay all this PMI. We're talking about $100,000 down payment. Your kids will never get there outside of reparations. And my parents didn't have to, because my mom was a nurse and that was enough at that time. But your kids will just never get there.
Somebody said DoorDashers. Yeah, DoorDashers.
Yeah, doing DoorDash, doing Instacart, working $15 an hour. No, none of that. Your kids will never get there. So we're talking about watching, and I don't want to watch this for the next 20 years because I don't want you people who are watching this right now to think that you're surprised or get surprised when we just watch our already degraded status even get more so, because things got worse in COVID. Some people got a boost. The top 30% started stacking and buying, and now they can live everywhere. And the people who are on the bottom just got 2 years off of school and just got further behind. So
and I don't know. I mean, I don't know to what degree school comes back, because these people always take advantage of the moment, right?
Right.
And the moment is, well, no school. Well, I think they might start making y'all have to homeschool. Well, both of y'all parents work. Okay, figure it out.
And that pretty much means we don't care if your kid learns anything.
Well, that pretty much means he's going to be an Uber driver anyway.
Okay.
So if he's going to drive DoorDash anyway to deliver food, he ain't got to know all this high-end history stuff. Just get him out of here. That's what it means. And I don't think we have really kind of gone to the place of protecting that, right? In terms of saying that we're old in education. That's who we are. I don't think that has happened. And so just, my whole thing is we have to complain collectively instead of individually.
Okay. One
of the things that we do is we always want to complain individually. Oh, Yvette, can you help me? It's a lawsuit, and this comes and da. Well, yeah, but real politics happens collectively, not individually. And when I came to you and said, let's do collective politics, you said, no, I'm going to get it out the mud. But when I but then you want to come to me individually. I just don't want anybody to come to me individually.
Right.
You have to do collective politics.
Yeah, but for that, we need to admit, what keeps Black people from admitting that we're broke?
I think it's a psychological malfunction. I think it's an undiagnosed illness, to where, first of all, I think it's an undiagnosed illness. There's an imaginary world that some of us live in where, hey, I'm not broke. I live in the future, right? I live in where I imagine myself to be. I project myself. I project my wealth here in terms of what I see in my mind. The other thing is, I don't think we understand what true wealth is. So I think if we feel like if I have $1,000 or $2,000 in my account, or even $5,000, like, oh, I'm doing okay. Not understanding that we have white people who are nervous about retiring because they only have $2 million, right? That's, if you don't understand that, like what real wealth is in America, because true wealth in America is not the same thing as a bunch of other countries. If you don't understand that, then you don't understand your peers, because whether or not you have wealth is determined by your peers. That's why I got so annoyed when Boyce Watkins was like, well, we got to compare ourselves to white people, because that's everybody. So if everybody around you has this kind of money and this kind of wealth and you don't have any, you are screwed. I don't think we really, 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 really can wrap our minds around that. And even when you talk to people, like I talk to people all the time, and when I really kind of break down to like, you don't have any wealth, it's almost like sometimes their brain misfires. Like, but, no, there is no but, dear. This is America, and everything costs. America will charge you for everything. You don't have it. And so what does that mean? That means your kids don't have it. We should have it. But we don't. So what does that mean? What is the implication? And nobody wants to seriously, very few people, except for the people mostly involved in this movement, want to seriously deal with that kind of implication and what that means. It just makes people misfire.
Yeah, I mean, I want an entire community that can stably live without feeling like they have to kiss white butt. I want an entire community, not like one person who happens to have a Black boss. I want like an entire community that can stably live, even among white people, without feeling like, well, I gotta keep them happy because they're my insurance policy or anything like that, because I don't have a real insurance policy. Like, so in order for that to happen, and anything short of that's not freedom. If you're scared of ticking off white people about their whiteness, you're not free. So people living, they seem to be doing well. They're kind of doing well, but they kind of, these Black men who make themselves small because they don't want to seem threatening, or the Black women who can only get jobs by trashing Black men. Like that's their full-time job. That's the only reason they're sticking around. And as soon as they stop trashing black men, like they get moved out. Well, you're not a good fit anymore.
Yeah.
So like
we don't even talk about, I'm not going to say much about it, but we don't even talk about how the only black men who get to be in positions of power, it seems like, or positions of influence in media and other places are gay black men. You don't see like a fully heterosexual black man who is confident in his own right and advocating for his people to be in any kind of space of influence. It just typically doesn't happen. And that's why we end up, people talk about it. That's why we end up with Capehart and the others. I mean, it just is what it is.
Well, you got Van Jones, but he does weep every now and then, doesn't he?
Child.
He does.
Van Jones, I thought he got a bunch of money
more
from
than most
somebody.
white
Who did he get a bunch of money from? I thought he got a bunch of money from and he ran off. He didn't run off. He's still around.
He got a bunch of money. He got a bunch of money. He got a bunch of money from Bezos, and somebody gave him like $100 million. So I guess he doesn't have to try anymore. But like he was a black dude on TV, but yet who was straight. But yet every month or so you'd find him in tears about something. So maybe there is something to that. He's a marshmallow. He was paid to be a marshmallow. Someone in chat said Van Jones is a marshmallow. So this idea that what do black people need to be secure enough that they to be who they are in public as much as anybody else. And anything short of reparations isn't going to get that, because you can try a market-driven solution as it stands, but the market needs you to make white people comfortable as a function of its being. Like we can get around this, but we're like, I mean, you have a group and I have a group, but we're not an entire country, right? We're two people on YouTube. In a way that's like, I want a serious organization that not like the NOI, because the NOI tries to pretend that they can do it without having to deal with white people, and that's not honest either. I need an organization that says, yes, we need to deal with white people, but we don't need to deal with them on their terms. We'll deal with them on the terms that we decide are just.
And that's what the ADOS Advocacy Foundation is built to be, right?
Right.
Like you can give me money all day, but that money doesn't sway me in any particular direction. Actually, the money that you give me supports the direction that I have decided I'm going to be on. So if you don't understand that, you got confused. It's not for you to sway me and get me in some kind of NAACP mode and be like, oh my God, if we don't do right, we're going to get no money no more. No, it's for you to say, listen, I support this movement. I support what they're doing. And I think we got it confused. Like if you take money, it's not supposed to create a puppeteer puppet relationship. Whoever gives you the money is supposed to be already in support of what you're doing. And that's not what we have anymore. We just have the NAACP National Action Network, which really isn't a network, it's a bunch of PO boxes, right? And he has a conference every year. For what?
Hold on, they have a building. Tell me the NAACP has a building in Washington.
You seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I want to believe everybody's got a building. I hope they got a building in Washington, because if they don't have a building in front of Washington, they're not any bigger than what we are.
I know. That's the thing. That like Al Sharpton is not bigger than us. If you go look at if you don't believe it, go look at one of Al Sharpton's tweets. And it's just the tweet went nowhere. That's because there's really no support there. The support is from white people, mainstream media, institutions, to convince white people that he does have support. They stand him up so that other white people watching say, oh, he is a leader of black people. No, he ain't been there for a long time. Do a poll of Negroes and see how many people say, yes, Al Sharpton is our leader. I want that poll.
I tell people, if we really had it, Umar would have had his school. If we really had it, because it's not the worst idea. But if we really had the money, he would have his school. But then instead, he's got a scandal. I'm talking about Umar Johnson, the guy who's supposed to create the Black Hogsworth. And so
my thing is, why Umar even got an online school? Like some stuff goes to competency. No, he would have, if we had the money, he would have had a brick and mortar school. But during COVID, why couldn't you put together an online school? Because that's not nearly the cost with a curriculum, maybe for homeschool, maybe for people who are homeschooling, right? Because they had to homeschool, put together a curriculum for them and charge them a nominal amount a month for your homeschool curriculum every day. Like if you can't do that, then dude, leave me alone. But you're right in terms of the financials. But like a Negro who didn't put that together and is playing around on a playground saying, leave me a donation, it's just not to be taken seriously. But you're absolutely right. Brick and mortar wise, I remember one time he said he took 400,000. Somebody said 700,000. That's not enough money for a school. When people don't understand, multi-million dollars, that's not enough money for a school. I said a long time ago, you're never gonna have no physical school because there is not enough money to come to him for a physical school. It's not. Y'all get that man enough money for I don't know for what, a salary for a few years, but not enough money for a school.
Yeah. Yeah, because schools, and we don't own real businesses, so we don't know. Institutions take real money. You have a school, you have multiple teachers. Each one of those multiple teachers has health care in addition to their salary. Like, you need multi-millions in your budget. So Umar's 400,000 was never real money. So all of these little schools and little institutions that you see, they have bigger budgets or bigger endowments or bigger gifts, one-time gifts that now are off the books than you have, like, than we have together. By the way, thank you for the people who are giving in Super Chat. If you like anything that we're doing right now, I'm going to be doing more interviews. I'm talking to some congressional candidates next week. Go over to www.funkyacademic.com, kick in $5.15 or $50 a month, and help me keep this going. And also, they can find you at breakingbrown.com, right? Still?
Well, no, just go to my YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/Carnell, or go to Instagram/Carnell and just line up if y'all don't know. So. Yeah.
Put Yvette's name in YouTube.
And it'll show up everywhere.
The one that looks like her. It's the one that looks like her. So we are confused because we don't own. Like, do Black people even own commercial real estate? Be honest.
Who?
Commercial real estate? No,
we own like maybe one house that we try to Airbnb until
Oh yeah, I'm a real estate manager. See, I Airbnb my.
Yeah, I
Airbnb my mom's basement
right here, and I'm into rentals. Okay, man. All right, I don't even bother them no more. Yeah. Okay.
So we don't really we are not even in commercial we don't have commercial, so we don't understand what commercial real estate means. And because to do that, you need extra capital. You need capital. We live in a capitalist economy, but we don't have any capital. So, and we don't even understand. And someone says we own event spaces, apparently. I don't even think we own those event spaces. I think we rent them from some white guy.
Yeah, we don't own event spaces. No, we don't own them. Event spaces are actually expensive. Like real event spaces are actually, we don't.
So, I mean, this was one of the reasons why it was a big deal that that Magic Johnson owned his theaters. I hope he owned those theaters in LA. But like at no point in time did Black people own the Forum. like we don't.
I know that's the thing. Like the whole point of us is to, even with remember it only came out later that like Diddy and all those people didn't really own their own labels, right? They were just kind of like beneath. They were kind of like a shoot off of white people, and they had to make a certain amount. And it's this, we're so desperate. It's kind of like, let's remember Boyce Watkins and his Charles Wu. It's kind of like this whole thing of to create this idea of ownership. We want it so bad because we never really had it, and we know we haven't had it. So if anybody comes to us with a sales pitch, what's the child's name with the Tulsa real estate, whatever, Jay Morrison. If anybody comes to us with a sales pitch that says this is Black ownership, we don't go read the fine print and read like, oh, this ain't Black ownership. This is still the white record label. What you talking about? Leave me alone. We just be like, oh, he owned whatever. He owned whatever. And we don't even look at the fine print. And so some of this, in terms of our reaction, not what happened to us, has to do with our due diligence or our refusal to do due diligence as it relates to our own circumstance and predicament.
So we like to pretend that we own. We like to pretend that we own, or that we can just buy. The problem is we don't own, so we just need to buy. No, we don't own because we don't have the money to buy, right? And it's not like real estate's gotten cheaper. Commercial real estate in places you want to be has gotten cheaper in the last few years. We don't have the resources to buy. So even like you can say, well, Tyler Perry owns, and there's a way in which Tyler Perry does, but he made all of his money getting like wearing a dress. And then is he really going to produce the quality of, will he find advertisers for the quality of dramas that will actually clarify our situation? I don't know. So, Shonda Rhimes might own and Tyler Perry might own, but they're still not free in a way. And even Oprah, who owned OWN. Did she really own OWN? Uh-oh. I lost Yvette.
I'm back. It
okay,
went out. I don't know what
yeah,
happened.
did Oprah really own OWN? And
it doesn't look like. Well, it looked like maybe they gave her an opportunity, and it was just like it didn't work out. And the thing is, the walk away from that was, ooh. The thing is, too, like, you look at her, she went to 60 Minutes and said she got mistreated. Like, I mean, how does a person who owned what she said she owned, she said in 60 Minutes they were trying to teach her how to say her own name. Like, it's just like, that's what I thought I was done. You should have decided a lot more at that moment than you were done. First of all, why did you need a job? Right? Like, why does Oprah need a job? You're supposed to have had a whole network. Then you're coming back to where you were before at 60 Minutes, and then you getting mistreated by the white people there who are telling you, said Oprah. I mean, you have made millions on millions on millions for white people for this network, and that's what you say happened to you. Like, there should really be some. Let me sit down and think about what I thought my life was worth, and what I thought I did, and what I actually did.
Yeah, you at some point in time, part of what it is to have your own company is that they can't mistreat you.
Yeah, this is mine.
But
she went to 60 Minutes. Like, why would you leave OWN to go to 60 Minutes? Like, what happened? You weren't even back on ABC. You like your primetime stuff. You were back on 60 Minutes or something like that. And they were, what? This don't make no sense. If I believe you're a billionaire, what you just said to me doesn't make sense. Because every billionaire I've ever known, when they go on TV, they get treated very well.
Yeah. I mean, at no point in time are you going to find Trump saying that the Trump Corporation didn't treat him very well. Like it's because he actually owns his group. So it's a little bit bizarre. The stories we tell ourselves about the power we have, or like the solutions, right? So the idea is that, like, all right, so we don't own anything. We just need to get together and buy. But that kind of occludes or somehow covers the fact that we can't get together and buy because things cost more than we have. And that's why we need the government to step in to make us whole in order so that we can buy, or they could just like give us whole zip codes, which would be cool too.
We just have to give us back what we had. Like you took us off the board when there was a time when we were making real money, when we were creating. There was a time you took us off. Like, that's just what it is. Like, that's when people were creating stuff that they would pass down later. And you made it to where we were a tool that they created that, as opposed to people who could do that. Right. Mm-hmm. And even, the craziest thing is, it's not just slavery. Like, even after slavery, people always say, well, why don't y'all move on from slavery? We did. We moved on, even though we were mistreated, and y'all chased us around and burnt our stuff and hung us from trees. So we tried to move on. And everybody in America bears the brunt of the fact of not letting us move on. Like, you didn't let us build anything. So you just have to give it back and everything. That's why the 20 trillion is just a down payment, because we haven't even gotten to have a conversation about intellectual property yet. Everything y'all stole, because we could not. When you can't protect your stuff, people can just walk off with it, and that's what happens. And so we have this real kind of distorted society now, and white people and other people don't want to own, but that's what it is.
And we're not just talking about generational wealth, although that generational wealth is real wealth. We're also talking about generational access to contracts, right? So we don't have that legacy access. There are so many family businesses and cousin businesses, and that, like, we're just locked out of. Entire industries we're just locked out of, because even if we actually have the skills, we're not going to be able to get that bid, because that bid went to that guy's grandfather who won the bid in the time of at a Klan meeting in the 50s, right? So, like, legacy contracts, legacy access, not just legacy wealth, is what we're missing.
Yeah, it's all social capital. It's all social capital. And we said, well, I just got to get in there. Money's green. No.
They're not going to let you in.
No, people have to decide whether or not they want to let you in. What do you bring to the table? Like, what do you bring to the table? Who's your people? Who's your family? Like, what do you bring to the table for me? Because there's a lot of people who want to be let in. This dude comes from a light bulb company. This dude, he has a mother who's always been in, who's over papers and journalism. This dude owns this. So what do you have? Because it's not just money. We live in an America where there's been a huge transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top, right? So it's a lot of people with money. So money is not just a web. I got the money, I can get in. No. The money ain't enough. What else do you bring? What is your additional thing that you bring? We don't even have the money, and we don't have the. And even if we have the money, I mean, doing the whole Byron thing, Byron Allen said that like they don't want the money no more. I got the money. They just they don't want to take it necessarily. What's the remember the whole lawsuit about McDonald's hasn't advertised for him since he bought the Weather Channel? They don't care. Like, and I'm sure he'll be fine. Byron will be fine because he got in before that door closed all the way. But what does that say for everybody else who's coming up? That was the whole issue.
And that's a huge deal. So if they don't want us the money, the extra thing that Black people sell in addition to the money is, I'll help you control other Black people. I'll be on all of your marketing. I'll sell you my image, and I'll sell you the ability to use me against other Black people. And you know what? Obama took that all the way up to the presidency.
I agree with you, but let me just say one thing. They sell one other thing.
Yeah.
Black people sell cool. So Black people will sell your product. I don't care whether it's your shoe, your shirt, whatever. We will make it cool and we will sell it. But you're right. In terms of the political sphere, listen, I will sell you other Black people. I will go out and I will tell them, and I will confuse the whole conversation. I will tell them to vote blue no matter who. I will say we just got to get Trump out of there. We ain't got to have no agenda. Times are too tough for that. I will say all of that in order to maintain my space within this hierarchy. I will say all of that.
And you go off script 2 times in a row. Just ask Melissa Harris Perry what happens.
Where is she at now?
Exactly. Exactly.
All the Negroes got dumped off MSNBC. When Obama was gone, they did not need the Negro interpreters no more. So
they're like, well, I still give you the same quality of news. No.
That ain't what you're here for.
Now you're just an experienced
Negro. And some
Negro.
Black people in that class who feel like they could work at the White House. So they in that bubble. Yeah, you're not here for that. No quality of news.
All right. So I want to keep these under an hour. So what I'm going to do is chat. You go ahead, ask Yvette a question. We're going to keep talking for a little bit. We're going to hit 2 of your questions, and then that's going to be it. All right. So, what are next steps for ADOS, the foundation? What's going on?
Well, we got chapters rolling out.
Okay.
Early summer, like official chapters. So we're trying to get that. We're just trying to get that worked out, right?
What cities are you stable in?
We're not saying yet. We got to roll out. It's gonna be exciting. So I know what cities come first, but I'm not saying yet. But because we're trying to make it exciting. But one of the things that we're really kind of committed to is making sure that everybody has the training that they need when they come into this space. So one of the things that we've been working on is kind of creating that kind of training so that everybody has an understanding of who we are, what we stand for, and what our advocacy looks like. So that is the key. And listen, it's gonna be something.
So a lot of people sign people up and come out loud without the training. So nobody's on the same page and they're easily spun. Why do you take training so seriously?
Because you're only as strong as your training. Like, if nobody knows what you like, if everybody's kind of confused, why we just stand for Black people? Well, we just stand for No, tell me specifically. What is your reparations agenda? What is your Black agenda? What are the specifics of that agenda? What does that look like? What does that look like in the local community versus the national? You have to work all of that out, because people will not only get confused, they will get you in trouble. They will get in front of a camera and say something stupid, and we had it happen before there were chapters, and get you in trouble. Everything has to be consistent. Everything has to be disciplined. That's what it has to be. And shout out to everybody inside the foundation, because we have like 40 people who work. We have a multitude of meetings every week, and it's all free. Nobody's getting paid. I'm not getting paid, and we're all just there, committed for the love. So shout out to the people who are in the meetings. I'll have outreach meeting today. I had a policy meeting yesterday. I had a media team meeting Monday. That's just what we do now. So shout out to everybody who's working in organizing for absolutely no dollars.
So I got a little bit of heat because I can kind of anticipate the future in a little bit, and I don't want a wave. And I'll say this so you don't have to, because this might be a little bit controversial. I don't want a wave of Ukrainian immigrants coming to the United States and calling my grandkids the N-word.
Well,
and I see that as the future, because that might happen.
I don't think people understand. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of little baby fascism. So what do you think? And even if that wasn't, when people come here and they realize, okay, what's the lay of the land? Oh, we got to kick these Negroes in the head. Well, kick them hard. Like I don't think there's this idea that this one over here, and there's a history. Come on, I got into it a little bit. While we were putting all the people putting all the Black Lives Matter stuff up, whatever, and doing all this little painting in the square, they put up, and this is Ukraine, put up a thing with a KKK thing. Y'all never had a KKK. What y'all do over there? Listen, no. I'm not. No. And then I need Europe to handle Europe's business. Okay. Europe needs to handle Europe's business. That's y'all's business. There's not a flood of people coming from Canada. Then we have to deal with it because it is our neighbor. What we keep doing? Like, no, we have never decided to handle the Negro problem. And the Negro problem is still our problem. And we don't need to keep confusing that people come here don't know what we did and buy into the propaganda. Can we handle the Negro problem, please?
Until we handle the Negro problem, immigrants come in and then assimilate into the wrong side of the problem. Right? So it's not their fault. It's not necessarily their fault. They're just reading the lay of the land. But nobody reads the lay of the land and then goes assimilates with the losing side. Right? So these people are primed to be a little bit racist in the Ukraine. Then they come here, they look around
before they get here.
I talked to an Ethiopian student. She straight up told me, UGA, she straight up told me that on the plane flight over, they had a movie. She was an Ethiopian immigrant. Had a movie that said, don't integrate, don't talk to the Black people who are native there. On the plane flight over.
That's how you stay safe. They troublemakers. But you know what troublemaker is? They're troublemakers are freedom fighters. And so, yeah, we are troublemakers in the sense that we fight white supremacy in a way that people are not accustomed to. And that's why you get to be here. But if you don't want to, I don't know how you get to, you shouldn't get to assimilate into anything else. The only reason you get to be here is because of our freedom struggle. That's just what it is. How can you, and the propaganda on the plane, that's awful.
On the plane over here, they're saying these are the people you want to talk to. These are the people you should keep your distance from. Don't get confused because they kind of look like you, but make no mistake.
I don't get confused.
If you want to be a real American, you treat them like trash, you treat them like good, and then you'll be all good. Do well in school.
Sounds about right, though.
But it makes a lot of sense when you see the behavior of folks. They were just groomed to become real Americans, and to be a real American and to be grateful to be a real American is to be comfortable treating Black people like trash.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I do not want a bunch of Ukrainian immigrants coming here to be real Americans.
Well, I honestly think America needs to just freeze everything and say, listen, we got to figure this Negro thing out. We've done a lot and we just got to figure this out.
You got to figure it out.
And stop telling me we need new people or whatever. Yeah, because you locked a bunch of Negroes up. I guess you do. They do the jobs now in jail and don't get no money for it. It's quite the come up for y'all. So I really think that's the thing that really needs to happen. You can't tell me that we need a bunch of immigrants when you lock ADOS people, especially men, up at the rate that you do. Yeah, you took them out of the labor force. Of course you need whatever. I just, and even what you even see it with some white people now who are saying listen, I don't have the money to have kids. It's not about not wanting to have kids or just kind of just reduced, whatever. It's they're just the birth rate. What a birth rate? Because I don't make enough to support a family.
Not in this America. So there's this idea that Black people should vote Democrat because whatever it is better than Republican rule. And in my mind, I think, the South has been under the rule of white supremacists as long as it's been the South, except for a few years in Reconstruction. And we kind of got used to it. So there are worse things in the world than a Republican winning. And we just need to be honest with that.
I mean, if a Republican has to win for us to punish the people who are supposed to be working on our behalf, then that's what has to happen. It's about people learn through punishment. And people learn through consequences. And unfortunately, that's what accountability looks like. I wish it could look different. I wish there were 12 parties, but they're not. We are in a stupid two-party system. Well, if that's the case, I have to punish you for me voting for you and you multi-generationally not coming through, right? There has to be some kind of punishment for that. Now, if the punishment for that hurts me, in the sense that I elected a Republican who doesn't do something that's good for me, then it just is what it is. I'm willing to take a temporary sacrifice for in order to inflict pain on you as policy as elected officials or want to be elected officials or whatever, to help you understand that I am not a captured group anymore, that I don't just vote blue no matter who anymore. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit for the long haul.
Is there a state in these 50 United States that Black people have real power?
No.
Because all the places where we're like strong pluralities and majorities, they're under the rule of the other party, right? So there are a lot of Black people in South Carolina. Is there really Black power in South Carolina?
I mean, just look at, wasn't it Alabama who the mayor decided to use the COVID funds to build more prisons? And it's got disproportionate. That's why I can't deal with people like move to the South. No, you're just gonna congest the roadways, because having more numbers doesn't mean more power. That's kind of what the South proves. They do that through laws because they're still the majority, even though there are more of us here.
Right. Yeah. So, like there is no place in the very Black South where Black people have real power. So when people say like, well, I can live in Russia, it's run by a single party. I'm like, well, is Mississippi much different? You think Mississippi? You really have a contest? Is it really going to be a contested election in Mississippi for governor or any of the state legislature?
Mississippi.
That might be one of those elections that you don't want to win. Draw too much heat. So
that's the Voting Rights Act right there. They do stuff in those counties, like change the voting dates. They really do wild stuff in these places. Like or say we're not going to give you the keys. These places are wild.
Yeah,
but I welcome all you Northerners.
Well, Baltimore. Yeah, so I really don't. There's no place in the United States where Black people have real public political power at the statewide level. No. And I think that's a problem. Yep. And what does it mean to actually secure us the power? So like so the power we need it has to be at the federal level, which means, like I said, you're going to have federal backing to secure the distribution of this reparations plan at some point in time. And that's going to go across and that's going to tick off, the state government, these state, because look, the Georgia state legislature is pretty much the Klan. Even Stacey Abrams in a, Negro to Negro conversation I've had with her, I've had a few of them. She's like, I'm dealing with pretty much the Klan here in the Georgia. So she told me the Georgia state legislature is pretty much the Klan. And yet we still live knowing that our state government is the Klan.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't deal with the Klan how she wants to deal with the Klan.
Yeah.
Like if they are the Klan, you can't deal with the Klan like just being the nicest and I'm just for voting everybody. That's just not how you deal with it. Like I think we have this idea that if we're not confrontational, they won't be confrontational. And that's just not been the history of this country.
Or anything about it. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Yvette. Once again, if you like her, go ahead and go to her YouTube channel. Just put Yvette Carnell. See the name in the title.
Right up.
in the search bar, and she'll come up. And keep an eye out for the rollout, for the big rollout. I am going to press you for a timeline. What are we looking at? What kind of timeline are we looking at for the rollout?
We're looking at early summer.
Early summer.
Yep.
Possibly a city near you.
Yes,
and if you want it to be a city near you, if you want an ADOS chapter in your place, they should contact you by.
You can contact me at Yvette Carnell, ADOSfoundation.org. But y'all know y'all editor at breakingbrown.com as well. Reach out to me and let me know, we're going to need at least 5 people.
5 people. She'll sponsor your training, but you're going to have to be trained.
Yes.
You need 5 people. And this will be a dues-paying organization.
There's a whole curriculum. You got to pass it all.
Not only do you got to take it, you got to pass.
Yeah, you can't skip. There's a test at the end. Okay.
I think this is the way you build real power, or at least build like a base for power.
Got to.
Right. Because you don't want the media to put a microphone in your hand and it go the wrong way.
Well, that's what happened with a lot of people from Occupy Wall Street to the Tea Party, regardless of whether you agree with their politics, because there was no kind of training. What happens is that people just went around putting the phone, people who said they identified with Occupy Wall Street or the Tea Party and putting the microphone in their mouth, and they all said a bunch of stupid stuff. And so you have to do the best you can to kind of guard against that stuff and let everybody know, hey, build that in. This is who we are. This is what we believe in. And so,
And we don't
that's what we're
believe
trying
in
to do.
that. We believe in
Yep.
this. We don't believe in
We
that.
believe in that. Yep. No,
We're not
not gonna trap
xenophobes.
me. This logic trap.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. We're not xenophobes. We just think that America needs to handle its business first.
Absolutely. A lot of
And
unfinished business in America. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you for your time, people. And I'll see you guys, my show, next week. And thank you, Yvette.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Armin. You have a good one now.
Peace.